So today we're going to be talking about frameworks and our continued discussion on frameworks and how we can use them in our activities with our kids with autism. We've talked about the giver-putter framework, where I give you a block and you put the block on the tower. We've also talked about the simultaneous parallel framework, where the guide and the apprentice each take their own block and they build together simultaneously, side by side. A third framework we could do is called the complementary simultaneous framework. Now with this framework, we are doing different actions at the same time. An activity that you can do with the complementary simultaneous framework is sweeping. The guide can sweep and the apprentice can use the dustpan to collect what the apprentice is sweeping up. And together, as the apprentice sweeps, as the guide sweeps, the apprentice will scoop up. Then the apprentice will throw it in the garbage. The framework is used to have a successful engagement. So what the framework does is it helps the apprentice make sense of what you're doing. Once the apprentice knows their role, they'll feel a sense of competence and would be more willing to engage with you. So that's important to remember, that the frameworks are just used in the beginning to get the engagement. We don't want to ever think of the frameworks as something static, because of course, even within one activity, you can switch up frameworks. But in the beginning, as a guide, when you're just learning, when you're thinking of setting up an engagement, you can think, okay, well, what framework can I use? So if your apprentice is successful with the giver-putter framework, I give you a block, you put it on, I give you a block, you put it on. You could take that framework and use different objects and do different situations and scenarios. So then the apprentice will be like, oh yeah, I know this framework. I know what my role is. So if you move this giver-putter to doing laundry, right? Mom gives me the sack, I put it in the washing machine. Mom gives me the next piece of clothing, I put it in the washing machine. So the apprentice has a sense of what to do and what is expected of them. Again, it's just the beginning of getting an engagement. Another great example of a complementary parallel framework is when you're baking. So I hold the bowl, my apprentice mixes. So we're doing something together with one goal in mind, which is getting the cookie dough mixed, and we're doing it together. Or you could even say, I crack the egg in to the bowl and my apprentice mix. Or I pour the vanilla in as my apprentice is mixing. I pour whatever the ingredients is and my apprentice mixes. So that's the idea with frameworks. The final framework is turn taking. So I do something and you do that same something right after me sequentially. So it's parallel sequential. I take a turn, you take a turn. So with the block framework, we could have the blocks and then I put a block, you put a block. I put a block, you put a block. With the mixing cookie dough, I take a mix, then you take a mix. I take a mix, you take a mix. Turn mixing. I set up engagement, especially in the beginning. I always think about what framework can I use for this activity. And then on top of that, in addition to that, I'll think, what objectives am I trying to target? Now, another approach as a guide is to say, hey, I'm going to the beach today. What kind of activity can I do at the beach? So I think, all right, well, what's at the beach? Plenty of sand, plenty of water. So I could think, let me see what I can do with my frameworks. So our first framework is simultaneous parallel, doing the same activity at the same time. So when we're thinking of digging, think dig together, right? You're gonna dig together. So if you wanna dig together, and that's fine. Now, if you wanna add an objective to that, you could think coordinated movements. So coordinated movements is you want to dig at the same time. So you could now you have a framework, you're digging together at the same time. You're digging together side by side. You could dig one hole or you could dig two separate holes. Now you can say, well, what objectives can I target here? Well, you can target coordinated movements and you can target eye gaze shifting, right? Okay, tell your apprentice, we're gonna dig. Always tell your apprentice what you're doing and what the goal is, what the objective is, right? So you say, okay, we're gonna dig together. Let's dig at the same time. Are you ready? And then look at your apprentice. Get your shovel, set, look at your apprentice, go! And then start digging, right? Then you can say, oh, let's dig faster. Dig, 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 stop. And then look at your apprentice. Do they stop? Are they coordinating with you? Okay, ready? Let's dig. Dig, 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 stop. Stop. Look at your apprentice. Ready? Let's go. Slow. Dig. Dig. Now you're going nice and slow. Okay, so on the same theme of digging and digging at the beach, let's do complementary sequential. Now with this one, I could go, if you're right by the beach shoreline, the guide could get the water, bring it back to the hole, pass his apprentice, and the apprentice can fill the hole. I go get the water, fill up the bucket, bring it to my apprentice fills up the hole. If you are not by the shoreline, you're not that close to the water, or you don't want to do that, you could even, if you dig a big enough hole, you could even bury someone in the hole. So that would be a fun activity. So you could bury dad in the hole, you can bury a sibling in the hole, and the person can be in there, and then the guide can fill up the bucket with the sand and passes the apprentice, and the apprentice dumps the sand on to fill in the hole, to bury the person or object, or just fill the hole over. Use your imagination. If you want to do that same thing of digging the hole in, you can do it at the same time, same action, simultaneous, parallel, and you both can even just take shovels and fill up the hole. So ready, we're gonna bury dad. 1, 2, 3, go. Now you're doing it together, filling up the hole. For this example with digging, parallel sequential, turn taking. I take a turn digging, you take a turn digging. So we have our hole dug, if we're digging the hole, I dig, you dig. I dig, you dig. If we're filling the hole in, I fill the hole, you fill in the hole. I fill in the hole, you fill in the hole. So you get the idea. That's turn taking. Complementary parallel is complementary role. So if we want to dig and make a moat around a sandcastle. As you're digging, I'm pouring the water in. As you're digging, I'm pouring the water in until we fill up the moat as much as we like. Another example of using frameworks at the beach is looking for seashells. So same activity at the same time, you and your apprentice can walk along the beach trying to find pretty seashells. So together you can say, and then pick one up, and then you can do a lot, of course, extra with seashells. You can compare them, you can comment on them, you can pick your favorite seashell, you can go home and decorate your seashells, you can decorate your sandcastle with the seashell, you can put your seashells in your hole when you dig your hole, you can bury your seashells. So there's a lot of fun things you can do with seashells. So that would be the same activity at the same time, parallel, simultaneous, looking for seashells. Complementary sequential framework with looking for seashells you could have your apprentice look for the seashell, pick it up, and you can be the bucket holder. So they're the seashell finder, and you're the seashell holder. They find the seashell, put it in your bucket. They find the next seashell, they put it in your bucket. Or, of course, vice versa. You want to try the parallel sequential framework with finding seashells. Take turns. First, you find the seashell, put it in the bucket. Then it's my turn to find a seashell, put it in the bucket. You find a seashell, put it in the bucket. Then I find a seashell and put it in the bucket. Another thing you can do with this activity is use your nonverbals. So you could, if your apprentice is ready for this, you could set it up where you both have to agree that you want to take that seashell home. So your apprentice finds a seashell, they need to look at it, turn to you. What do you think? And you could do this non-verbally. I like it, yes. I mean, don't have to be totally nonverbal, but you could use nonverbals, you can use declarative statements. I love it, I love that seashell. That seashell's perfect. That seashell's the perfect size. I love the color of that seashell. Now, if you don't want the seashell, you could be like, nah, that seashell's cracked. That seashell has a hole in it. We have too many of those kind of seashells. Let's look for sea glass. So that way you would have to together decide what seashells you're going to put in your bucket and what seashells you're going to throw back to the ocean, right? And use your nonverbals with that too. You don't have to just, again, like you don't have to start out with only nonverbals. You could, use your verbals and nonverbals, or you can make it a total game where it's like you say, we're going to play this game with the seashells and we're only going to use nonverbals. So when your apprentice picks up, if you're practicing this skill, so your apprentice picks up the seashell, you can say, or you could say, or for no, you could say, and point to your bucket like, yeah, put it into my bucket, or throw it back in the ocean, get it out of here, I don't want that one. So you can have a lot of fun with that activity too. And of course, switch roles. And then you find the seashell and ask your partner, like, what do you think? You want this or not? So that's another fun activity. With finding seashells, you can use the turn taking. I find a seashell, you find a seashell. I put in the bucket, you put in the bucket. And then we have the complementary sequential. You find the seashell, you put it in the bucket. I find the seashell and put it in the bucket. So it's like you're getting the seashell, your job is getting the seashell, and my complementary job is the seashell holder. So these are just some ideas to do with your apprentice at the beach. Another fun thing you can do at the beach is jump the waves. There's a lot of anticipation. You don't even have to go all the way in. You stay at the edge of the ocean. So hold your apprentice's hand. Here comes the waves. Give that little glance, like it's coming, and here it comes. And then you could like run backwards. Don't let our feet get wet. And then as the wave goes back out to the sea, you start to creep up a little. Let's go, get the wave. Oh, here it comes. Back. And back up again so you don't get your feet wet. So that should cause lots of laughter, lots of fun, lots of anticipation, lots of excited gazes and experience sharing gazes. The other thing you could do is you could jump the waves. So as they're coming, ready, set, hold your apprentice's hand, jump, and you're just jumping over the little baby waves. Not talking about going so far in the ocean, just like jumping when it's starting to come in, just jumping over the wave. So that's another fun activity. So most important thing is think about process over product, think about the engagement, think about your objective, think about those smiles, those shared gazes, the experience of just having fun with your child. And don't forget to take home that seashell for the memories of your fun beach day. And most importantly, don't forget, you can do it. I believe in you. If I could do it, you can do it.